1980s, Debra Winger seemed to be everywhere. She got 3 Oscar nominations and made a lasting impression with a string of exceptional performances in a matter of years. However, Debra Winger abruptly vanished as her career was about to reach its zenith. No romantic dispute, no scandal, no bankruptcy, and no retirement announcement made in public. Few people are aware that Debra survived a terrifying event that almost claimed her job, her eyesight, and her entire future many years prior to entering Hollywood. What actually transpired with Debra? Why did she vanish from Hollywood? I was simply living my life, and Hollywood didn't offer it. On May 16, 1955, Mary Debra Winger was born in Cleveland Heights. Robert Winger, her father, was employed at a meat processing facility. Ruth Winger, her mother, was an office manager. They were a pragmatic, grounded, and modest Jewish working-class family. Debra formed the strong, self-reliant personality that would come to define her in that setting, a personality that is difficult to mold by other people's viewpoints. Debra's family relocated to Southern California when she was around 5 years old. It was there that she was raised, educated, and eventually showed off her extraordinary intelligence. Due to her exceptional academic performance, Debra graduated from high school at the age of 15, which was uncommon at the time. Later, she attended California State University, Northridge, to study criminology. The most unexpected aspect was that she had never imagined herself as a celebrity. No idol posters on her bedroom walls, no late-night fantasies of a life in Hollywood, no casting calls when she was a teenager. In her aspirations for the future, fame seemed far away, nearly non-existent. Instead of becoming someone the world would recognize, she wanted to understand the world. Then, in the narrative of her childhood, a trip to Israel emerged, a trip that would subsequently be encircled by innumerable accounts of what actually transpired. Some believed she was totally transformed by the trip. Others asserted that she made her first genuinely life-altering choice there. However, the whole truth was never revealed. The girl who had never belonged in Hollywood started moving in the direction of her destiny after that. Nobody really knows what transpired on that trip. A fresh detail emerged with each recounting of the stories, which have been delivered in a variety of ways. The early years of the young woman from Cleveland Heights are still shrouded in mystery. However, there is one fact that practically everyone can agree upon. She had changed by the time she got back to America. Then came the true tragedy. Abrupt, frigid, and without any time for anyone to get ready. It appeared to be an entirely typical day. There were no lights, no cameras, no spectators, and no indication that disaster was just around the corner. Just a ride on a truck. Only one fall. Only a few fleeting moments, yet enough to split her life in two. The impact was so severe both before and after the accident that medical professionals had to spend hours trying to stop the bleeding in her brain. There was very little hope in the initial medical reports: severe brain damage and head trauma. Some parts of her body were no longer able to react at all. She was hardly able to move normally throughout those initial days. Every tiny action turned into a conflict. Furthermore, the discomfort was not the most terrible aspect. It was the shadows. She initially believed it was just a side effect of the drug. The bandages, the never-ending days of unconsciousness. However, her vision did not come back as the hours went by. The faces around her vanished. The light went off. The hues vanished. The world seemed to have been turned off overnight. She was almost totally blind for a while. The physicians did not guarantee anything. Some thought she would regain some of her vision. Others doubted she would ever be able to see normally again. Her family attempted to conceal the worry that was evident in their eyes as they sat next to her hospital bed and held her hand. However, she was the only one who truly understood. This was no longer difficult. This was the boundary between perseverance and surrender. Weeks passed while I was in the hospital. The weeks stretched into months. 10 months spent in a seemingly endless darkness, frigid white hallways, the sound of cardiac monitors, and the scent of disinfectant. There were no faces, no books, no obvious future, just the voice in her own head. Then, as she gazed into the dense black void in front of her on a night she would seldom ever talk about in detail thereafter, she promised herself. She would take the stage if she could see the light once more, and this body could stand once more. And the desire that had never existed during her youth suddenly came true in that chilly hospital room. Her life was not the only thing saved during those 10 months of darkness. They completely transformed her into a different person. She was no longer the young woman motivated just by curiosity when she left the hospital. She was no longer looking for her own path. She started keeping her word. Few people in the entertainment business had ever seen her approach the realm of art with such tenacity. Hollywood's early years were anything from simple. There were many more rejections than opportunities during auditions. She wasn't soft enough, according to some. Some thought her features were too sharp to conform to the stereotype of a romantic leading lady. However, Debra made the decision to alter Hollywood's perception of her rather than altering herself to suit the industry. Urban Cowboy, in which she co-starred with John Travolta, became her first significant success in 1980. The movie made over $50 million at the box office and swiftly spread throughout American culture. Debra presented a picture of a powerful, defiant lady. She was nominated for a BAFTA award for Best Actress as a result of the performance, which also made critics take notice of her name for the first time. 2 years later, Debra burst onto a much larger stage alongside Richard Gere, an officer and a gentleman. The movie won 2 Academy Awards and made over $190 million worldwide, making it one of the year's biggest hits. Debra received widespread acclaim for her portrayal and was nominated for her first Oscar for Best Actress. Hollywood realized that she was no longer a potential newcomer after that. She was now considered a true star. But in 1983, when she starred opposite Jack Nicholson and Shirley Mann in Terms of Endearment, she reached her emotional zenith. The movie made over $100 million, won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, and captivated audiences across the United States. Debra received a second consecutive Oscar nomination for her depiction of Emma, which drew millions of viewers to tears. She was regarded by critics as one of the most sincere and emotionally strong actors of her time. Debra Winger then demonstrated in 1985 that her triumph was much more than a fleeting frenzy. She maintained her status as one of Hollywood's most sought-after actors in Legal Eagles and a number of significant productions that followed. However, she didn't leave the film profession in quiet once more until 1993, when she co-starred with Anthony Hopkins in Shadowlands. She played the role of Joy Davidman in the movie, an intelligent and perceptive American writer who was secretly suffering cancer. She had a profound impact on C.S. Lewis's life. Tears or intense emotional moments weren't part of the role's design. Debra made a more subdued choice with her looks, her silence, and her remarks, which were delivered so softly they were almost like whispers, yet still had enough impact to leave spectators dumbfounded. Critics were won over by the performance right away. She was nominated for a 3rd Academy Award for Best Actress for her role as Joy Davidman, in addition to BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations. Debra demonstrated once more that she could shine without any noise. All she had to do was make an appearance, and Hollywood would take notice. In a little more than 10 years, Debra Winger's name was no longer associated with a Hollywood novice. Several BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations, 3 Oscar nominations, and hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. Even though many people in the system were never entirely at ease with Debra's presence, she eventually became a force that Hollywood could no longer ignore. But she was never altered by fame. As they signed endorsement deals and appeared on magazine covers with well-manicured smiles, many celebrities started to meticulously cultivate their public personas. Debra was still the same person she had always been. She declined pre-edited publicity pieces, staged interviews, and going to events only to be noticed. Many initially thought it was an intriguing personality characteristic. However, that same personality started to be seen as a threat as her influence increased. Actresses who accepted were accustomed to working in studios. The one who kept asking why was Debra. She questioned shoddy scripts. She resisted shallow discourse. She insisted that female characters be portrayed as authentic human beings rather than as accessories for male stars. That made her even more revered by some directors, but not everyone was ready to embrace it. When she was working with Richard Gere, the first significant tension erupted. 2 strong characters and 2 entirely distinct artistic styles. 2 individuals who were not accustomed to taking a step back. Character development, speech, pace, and scene execution were the initial points of contention. But as time passed, artistic decisions were no longer the only factor. There were days when the entire set seemed tense, according to numerous behind-the-scenes tales. The 2 stars couldn't agree on how to handle some moments, so they had to be cut. Members of the production team occasionally had to intervene to prevent things from getting out of hand. Hollywood started whispering as soon as the media sensed trouble. The public's varied reactions made it even more illuminating. A male actor was frequently referred to as a genius when he was characterized as obstinate. A man was considered to have vision when he refused to make concessions. However, a completely new word started to occur more frequently after Debra Winger did the exact same thing. It was a challenging term, challenging to cooperate with, manage, please, and work with. Like a shadow, it trailed her name. Articles written by anonymous authors started to emerge more frequently. Stories about fights on movie sets began to circulate among inside sources. Some were twisted, some were overstated, and some could never be confirmed. However, the story that sold the fastest was often more essential in Hollywood than the reality. Debra Winger